also has an extensive background in psychology. She is a big believer in science, the laws of physics and logic for this universe. Anyway, she believes that science hasn't caught up with being able to explain psychic abilities yet, and hopes one day will. In the meantime, she has come up with several theories of her own. Extremely community focused, people have always been at the core of whatever work she has been involved in. Jess is she's passionate and excited to bring all her gifts forward to you. When she's not being a sassy psychic consultant, you can find Jess haunting her favorite coffee shop, going on adventures with her partner, learning new things, teaching dance, or snuggling up with her 2 kittens. Thank you, Jess, for being here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Marilyn. This is such a delight today. So one of the things we're going to kind of talk about, this is your beautiful nutrition channel, right? Innovative nutrition. And when we were chatting earlier, we're like, you want to come on this podcast? I'm like, sure. She's like, what would you talk about? Like, actually, spiritual nutrition. We talk about feeding our bodies and how important that is and making sure you get proper nutrition. But people forget that the spiritual side of things. And when you kind of are in spiritual distress, like that is one of the big major life stressors you can have. And so I just thought this would be a beautiful time to kind of talk about some of these terms, definitions, but also some of the symptoms of what spiritual distress can look like and things you can do to help feed your soul. We are all spiritual creatures, whether we admit it or not. And it's that idea that, not only do you have to feed the physical body, but you need to feed your soul. You got to feed your spirit. You have to experience spiritual peace and things like that to really live a truly full and rich life. That's how I view it. And so, let's talk about what spiritual distress kind of looks like. And, there's a couple of aspects to this. And one of them is lacking a sense of purpose, right? We all get to that point where we feel lost and we're just I don't know what to do. I don't know. I feel like I knew where I was going and I knew what I was doing and now I don't. So that's one symptom of spiritual distress. Another one is not feel like to be connected to the world around you, right? There's a little bit of a disconnect going on. And, when you throw that in with the lack of sense of purpose, it's like this massive feeling of being lost, right? You had the map, you knew what you were doing and where you were going, and then all of a sudden you kind of get lost and you don't know where to start and everything seems foggy and weird. And, it can be really disorienting when that happens. And, that's challenging, right? Part of having spiritual distress is actually part of the human experience, right? We have to work on this connection. Another one could be, something has happened, an event, or what's happening in the world around you and how that conflicts with your beliefs, right? Our beliefs shape our version of reality. Our beliefs, and our versions of reality, that's the world we live in, right? And everybody can have different ones and they all simultaneously exist at the same time, right? And when you experience something that really is contrary and contradicts some of your deep beliefs, that can cause a major spiritual crisis, in fact, and how we have to expand our world to encompass what's happening, but also to explain what has happened and how we kind of fix that. Another one is everything feels like it's just coming unglued. Everything is coming unglued at the seams. There's stress at work, stress at home, there's stress everywhere you can think of. And the aspect of control really feels like, you're running out of choices and you don't know what to do and everything you're trying. And, it's trying to patch up a sinking ship almost, right? And that can be devastating. That can feel horrific and scary and terrifying and that kind of unraveling. And these are all really big symptoms and flags of spiritual distress. And as you can see, some of these descriptions, this is absolutely something that we've all experienced it sometime or another, right? Like it is part of the human condition, it's part of the human experience. But these can be like huge stressors, right? And when we're stressed, it affects our ability to absorb nutrition. It affects our ability to function and feed ourselves and have good mental health and all of these things, right? And people don't always give enough credit to that has like elaborate ritual, has well detailed doctrines, and has sacred scriptures and texts that are guides, and they're packed with wisdom, and it's for the believers in this structure, and it helps provide a space, a recipe space for spiritual experiences, right, that are within this kind of lens and framework. And that is fantastic. I love that, this is a structure and belief system, whichever you believe in, that have been around for thousands of years, that have really helped humanity. And that is like this beautiful structure and framework, like I said, that allows for people to experience spiritual experiences. And that is fantastic. So that's the religion aspect of it. Now, when we talk about spirituality and these spiritual experiences, right, it is all about the individual journey and the personal journey and connection with the divine, right? Whatever that is, however you want to define it. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just talking about like what spirituality means, right? And you're like, Jess, well, how do we feed ourselves with this, right? But well, first, let's talk a little bit more about spirituality. And it's this idea, it's a very individual journey. So you can have spirituality within the religious framework. See what I mean there? And spirituality often acts like a buffet. There's that food part that comes in. It's this beautiful buffet of scriptures, of sacred texts, of experiences that are universal around the world. You get to pick and choose what resonates best for you as an individual on this journey. And that's kind of the main differences between religion and spirituality, just for context, right? And so, like I said, we're all very intuitive. We're all very spiritual creatures. A lot of times it's socialized out of us. And it's this idea of when you have this disconnect from the spiritual element, the divine, you have to kind of work at it to refeed your soul. You have to fuel your soul, right? You have to feel passionate about life, in my world anyway. One should feel passionate about life. One should have deep connections with the divine, because when we are spiritually aligned, our bodies perform better. Our energy is better. How we connect with the people around us in community and that aspect of joy, all of that is better. The whole point is to have the best human experience possible, right? And being able to choose the best things that feed not only our body, but our soul. And so I want to talk a little bit about how, to feed your spiritual self. And one way to start this process is to kind of check in with yourself, right? Some people, might need to go take a walk for this. Some people might need a little bit of a quiet space to do this. For me, I love to sit outside and do this and have my feet on the ground, so I'm really grounded and just relaxed. And then I ask myself, where am I at? Am I lacking in something? Am I not feeling connected? Am I too much in the business and work world? Am I too focused on my relationships? Oh my gosh, I have to get the cats to the vets and go to work, and my schedule's really busy and I don't have time for this, right? But when we slow down and I check in and I'm like, what do I need spiritually right now? How do I need to reconnect with the divine within myself, divine around me? And one of the ways, when you're listening to do that, is to be honest with yourself. We are in such a world where the facade of the exterior is so important, right? We have to look a certain way. We have to behave a certain way. And there's privilege and power with all of those things, right? When we're honest with ourselves, just with ourselves, which can be really hard to do. It's a practice. It's a skill set. It takes time. When we actually are honest with ourselves of what, I'm tired. I think I need a nap. Well, maybe take a nap outside if you can, in a safe space. That way you can let nature support you. You can, absorb the divine around you. Some of the answers sometimes is I have had enough divine, inspiration, everything else, then I need to rest. That is also very valid. Right? And how do we do that, right? We're listening to our intuition. We're listening to that little voice inside of us that we all have. And, sometimes, like I said, we're socialized out of it. We don't hear that voice very much anymore. It's very, very quiet. Others, we're well practiced at it, and it is very loud and very clear. It's just that idea of being honest and listening to this beautiful, inner voice that guides you, right? I always tell people, listen to your gut. Your gut is never going to steer you wrong, right? And this is that little voice that is a part of that gut, that intuition. So another way to actually feed your spiritual self with good nutrition, right, is a lot of use divination tools to help bring out their self-reflection, to help bring out answers and questions that they might need. Tarot is a really big aspect in this world. I've been working with tarot for 30 years. And not only is it found in the world, it's becoming more used, especially as the newer generations really step up and come into spaces, is that it's being used more and more as a self-reflection tool. And that's that idea of they, chose this, tarot salad off the buffet table because it resonates with them, right? It works best for them. And for me, I have found that, just observing the people around me, I talk to a lot of people, right? Like it's business, it's networking, it's everything else, but just also having really good conversations, which does feed my soul. It's that human connection, that community connection. And I hear more people are using oracle decks. More and more people are using tarot. More and more people use pendulums or sing rides or auguring, as they call it, just to kind of get a deeper connection to the divine, a deeper connections to themselves, right? And when you have this good nutrition for your soul, it, allows you to flourish and step up in different ways because you have more capacity to do so. And so, yeah, tarot has, like I said, it's a huge tool for self-reflection. It is filled with symbolism. It's filled with archetypes. It is filled with, modern day psychology interpretations. So it's a really big way to, feed your soul. And it's a tool, right? It's a tool that anybody can use. You don't have to be psychic to use one. You can literally pull out the little book and just read the interpretations and then reflect, right? That's that, listening to your intuition, listening to your inner voice, being like, how does this play out in my life? How can I be more aware of this? How can I, incorporate this into my daily world? Another way on this spiritual buffet, to keep that metaphor going, is mindfulness. People are so busy and their minds are so busy, right? It's all about that instant gratification aspect and things like that, which, don't get me wrong, it's all about modern in my world anyway. A little bit here, a little bit there. Don't overload too much on, the instant gratification dessert table. Guilty sometimes. It's that idea that mindfulness, when you slow things down and actually practice this meditation form and every day, it allows you to look for the signs of the divine. It allows you to be in wonder, awe of this incredible world you belong to, right? And some people might be like, Jess, this is too hippy-dippy. That's fine. Take what you can out of this, because it's this idea of a spiritual journey is unique. It's unique and individual to themselves. And this beautiful spiritual nutrition really can make a difference. Like everybody's made up a little bit different. Some people might need a little extra magnesium. Some people might need a little extra vitamin C. Well, some people might need a little more time in nature. Some people might need to sit and people watch. It all varies and it's all very different. One of the things that I love about mindfulness and finding this aspects of the divine all around us is people like signs. People like symbols. Well, people like to find feathers on the ground. A lot of people like to find pennies. In my family culture, when we find pennies on the ground, it's our loved ones who've passed on who are thinking of us. And that does make you feel connected and a little bit warm and fuzzy at the same time, right? And it's that idea that there is more out there than just us. And when you feed this and when you fuel this beautiful space, it's wonderful. Another, spiritual sign that often people talk about are repeating numbers, seeing repeating numbers. Well, for me in my world, and how when I see numbers, I take that as a sign for me to stop and slow down, to do a moment of inner reflection and be like, what do I need? Where am I at? What's going on? What do I need to pay attention to? Because I believe the divine guides me. That is my spiritual heaven. Another way to feed your spiritual nutrition, like having really good spiritual nutrition, right, is prayer. Prayer is huge. There is a whole, science out there about entanglement theory and the idea of we're all connected. And it is beautiful, and how the power of prayer really can work, not just with physical health as well and recovery, but also, kind of nudges things a little bit, possibly in your direction or other people's direction, right? And it's that idea of feeding your soul. And it's an act of mindfulness. It's an act of connection with the divine. And you will find that in religious structures all over the world, but also in spirituality as well. One of the things that I love to do for me is really spending time in nature. I'm not a hiker. I am not. I'm kind of a bit of a fashion girl. And so, but that doesn't mean that I can't go outside and appreciate the beauty around me, appreciate the changing of the seasons, appreciate the different landscapes that I'm in, and just be awed about nature and how it exists and sacred geometry and how everything has this beautiful design to it. And so, when you spend this time around the wow factor, right? When you access the wow factor in your life, whether that's people watching and when two people connect beautifully in a moment in front of you and you get to miss this, that can feed your soul. And that's good mission for the soul. And I love that. The other one that I have, it's last but not least, right, on how to feed ourselves with a spiritual nutrition, is meeting with a trusted guide or counselor, right? Some of the spirituality aspects, get you so far on your own. If you're in massive spiritual distress, sometimes you need a guide. You need somebody to point you, catch you, hold your space for you, right? And kind of lose your marbles a little bit. And then you get to be able to start your journey of healing, start your journey of reconnection. It's an aspect of transformation, right? And that is a process. It's a sucky process most of the time, but it is wonderful. And here's the thing, this is how we relearn how to have really good spiritual nutrition. This is how we relearn and reconnect with our communities. This is how we learn how to reconnect with the divine and the beauty that comes with that. And I just, one of the things that I offer is spiritual guidance and counseling in that aspect. That's why I'm the Down to Earth Oracle, right? In historical texts, things like that, in mythology, the hero of the story often feels a little lost. It's the hero's journey, right? They feel a little lost. They have a spiritual crisis of some kind. And then they got to go seek a guide or an oracle to go point them in the right direction on their journey. And so that is one of the things that I love to do. It's one of the ways how I give back to the community as well, because this is such a key integral part of how we take care of ourselves that is often really overlooked. So that's kind of a bit about my talk on, spiritual nutrition here. And, Marilyn, I'd love to chat with you about this and see what you think about this. Since, this is beautiful space that you sit in with, and I loved hearing your stories about, how it helped your children's health, your health, and I loved that connection with it.
Thank you so much. Yes, Jess. Oh my gosh. I wrote down all these different notes, and I love that you talked about spiritual health, because I mean, my tagline is, if we don't feel our best, we can't serve our best. And spirituality
Absolutely.
is part of it. So
Yeah.
Here, I actually love going to the beach, and that's how I grew, standing in the water, walking the sand, and that just fills my cup.
Yeah, that is so powerful. It's that connection with nature and all its beauty and different aspects. And, there's so much, the ocean itself is so powerful, just being in awe of it, right? There's that awe, that wonder, and that deep respect that, helps with that divine and that spiritual connection as well. And I love that you have that good practice. And yeah, your tagline is the best. So true. It's so true.
And please tell the listeners how they can find you.
Right. So I'm on all the major social medias, and you can find that all on Down to Earth Oracle. I'm also on the internet, like you do. So I have a website, which is www.downtoearthoracle.com. And you can also send me an email if you like, which is info@downtoearthoracle.com. It's pretty much all the major ways you can get a hold of me.
I love that. And when you were talking about Oracle, that actually, and I don't know if somebody else has brought it up, that actually reminded me of the Matrix.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I love the mythology in the Matrix that comes out with a lot of the storytelling and everything else. And yeah, one thing the Oracle does is she helps guide the gifted. She helps give advice. She helps point the way. Some of it is cryptic and mysterious, like you do, but that's part of the adventure, right? The unfolding, the learning, the understanding. And by the end of it, we do see Neo like figuring it out, right? And totally rocking everything. Yeah, definitely that similar aspect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And please, everyone, reach out to Jess to learn more about what she does. We also have a second guest, Jody Trujillo. She is a California native who has been drawing and painting since she was 8 years old. People would categorize her as a self-taught artist, never have gone to art school. Jody would say she has a lot of training growing up as she was born into a family with artistic talent. Her mom was always cultivating art and crafts in the home. She even had her own cake decorating business. Jody also grew up with very talented uncles who were pencil portrait artists. As a little girl, she would take her drawing pad and pencil when she would visit them, and she would mimic their drawings. Her uncles took their time to teach her. I love that. Jody also took every art class in school available to her. She started winning. She started winning high school art shows starting in the 10th grade, and since her high school days, some 30 years ago, Jody has gone on to teach art, painting murals, started her successful paint party business, and has written her and illustrated her children's books, as well as illustrated it for other authors. Jody is married to her high school sweetheart, and together they have 4 children. 3 are today adults and live in California. Jody and her husband moved to Oahu 6 months before the shutdown with their youngest child and boxer dog, Bob. Growing up in South Carolina, Newport Beach was her favorite spot. She loved getting there early in the morning and drinking a hot cup of cocoa with her kids as they sat on the pier watching the water swish back and forth. Lots of Jody's art is a reflection of her love for the ocean, sky, mountains, nature. Her artwork is colorful, fun, and at the same time takes the viewer to a place of peace. Today, Jody is a regular at Art on the Zoo fence and serves as their president. You can find her artwork at Anne and Her Friends Cafe and Kalihi Valley called Conversations. I love that. Please take it away, Jody.
Aloha, everyone. Sorry, I'm like in the middle of plugging my phone because it's gonna die. Aloha, everyone. My name is Jody. Yeah, I'm a native Californian. Grew up in Orange County. I used to take the bus to the beach all the time. That was my favorite thing to do. And I wasn't a coffee drinker then, so that back then I would drink hot cocoa right there on the pier in Newport Beach. That was like my favorite spot. And I used to tell my kids, Grandma would give me $5, and that would last me all day long. It was my bus ride, plus pizza at Perry's Pizza with a soda and enough money to get some water. We didn't even have water. It was just like you go to the water fountain. So that was like my life, and I used to dream like, oh, I'm just gonna rent one of those apartments up above, the shops in Newport Beach, and I'm just gonna sit there. I'm gonna live there and draw all day long. And now I live in Hawaii, and I can see the ocean from my view where I live. So, fully blessed. Thank you, Marilyn, for inviting me to talk about art and how being creative does help help your health. I also to work out, and working out creates endorphins. Endorphins is like your happy hormone, and that's the same thing that you create when you are creative, when you are doing something active with your mind and your hands, and you create something from nothing. I just think it's just an amazing way to kind of just to experience the whole experience the whole meaning of what creating means, you know, and whether if you've never been a mother, baby and giving birth, there's that aspect, but being creative, and I always I always get nervous before I draw something, but seeing it start from a little scribble into something like um, that inspires somebody or gives somebody a smile is just such a blessing. It feeds my soul to do something creative, but also feeds my soul when I see somebody enjoying it. And so there's a huge benefit to being creative and doing things that feed your mind and your heart at the same time. Whether it's writing creatively, my daughter is I have all my kids are creative writers. I have one, my son, who likes to write jokes. And then my other three, they are really like to write creatively, like scripts or stories. And they're not all artistic. It was something I used to do to calm their nerves. I used to bring out the pad and pencil, and no iPads. We didn't have an iPad back then, but it was just the whole action of getting messy and not worrying about it, really helps. Really helps bring down some anxiety. I always tell friends, come on over, come pick up some art supplies, and then go sit at the park and pick some leaves, and like, I can't draw. Well, then do some get the crayons and paper and put it on top of your whatever you find in the park, and then do the crayon rug art, where you can like print whatever you see on the paper. I mean, that's like instant gratification, but the whole action of doing something, placing something in a pattern and then doing that is just like the output of something that's is such a benefit to your mind and your soul. I was an extremely shy kid, extremely, so bad. My mom would have to like almost yell and say, "I can't hear you. What did you say?" And I'm like, "Water." It was just super shy, just super timid. And art was one of those things that really helped me talk to other people. I didn't even have to initiate the conversation because they would see me sit and then they would come and ask me questions, and that would help me talk to them. As long as it was art, it was in my wheelhouse. I could talk about it all day long. And so that really helped me get out of my shell and helped me be open to make more friends. I was very, very like my family was my friends. My sister, my brothers, my cousins. So making friends outside of that, the art really helped me do that. So I always tell parents with kids that are shy, just be patient with them. Find something that is creative for them to help bring their creativity out. I did that. I used to be an ABA behavioral technician, and so I used to work with kids one-on-one, on the spectrum, off the spectrum, and I would have extremely shy children, kind of like we're the mutes, but we knew that they liked to color or draw, and so I would sit there and gain their trust, and little by little they would get out of their shell and talk, and all of a sudden they're making friends, and so art is such a natural output and input when it comes to your health. Listening to your previous speaker, at a young age, I was in junior high, and like I said, I just like to draw. And I was in an art class, and I remember the painting. I did a pastel painting of a penguin on iceberg. Like I think anything of it. Like he was collecting our pieces. He's gonna enter them in a like a county show or something. And he took it. I didn't think about it, and then our pieces came back. We had open house, and I think mine got like second place or something. I still wasn't even paying attention. It was just something that I loved to do. And I remember him taking my mom to the side and telling her that I had a talent, and that she really needs to make sure that she invested me in with my talent, and that I could do something, make a living. I just remember I not really fully understanding that making a living thing with art, but I knew exactly that gift that I had was not created on my own. I knew that it was something that God imparted in me for a purpose, and that's why when I create art, my art is not like it's always bright and beautiful and reflective of God's joy and peace. I paint after my storm, I guess you could say. Whatever, a lot of artists paint through their pain, and it's dark, and it you know has a lot of emotions in it that are dark. And I don't want to pass on that kind of emotion to somebody, especially if they're already experiencing depression on a regular basis. And the old there's a saying where misery loves company. It's people be attracted to what you put out, and so if you're putting out depressive artwork, depressive people are going to be after it, and it's going to keep them in that state, just like in music. And so I make sure that the art that I create, art that I teach people to create, that's reflective of something that's going to bring somebody out of that. I don't want, I want someone who's having a bad day or having a bout of depression to come by my artwork and look at it and feel, that they see the light at the end of the tunnel through the art that they see from me creating. And so art is super spiritual, especially if it's creating from a place who gave you the gift in the first place, the great creator. I'm just a mimic of his creation. I'm at awe every time I see a rainbow. I get tired of rainbows out here. I could paint and take pictures of the same rainbow, like you could say, over and over again. I'm just amazed. And that's how I feel about when I look at his creation, his nature, the ocean, people. I'm amazed at the things that he does, and it ministers to me, and makes me, inspires me to create. At the same time, it's this full flow. I do help. What I see and watch inspires and ministers to me. What makes me to create, I create, and then what I put out does the same thing for somebody else. So I just see this whole spiritual connection of healing and hope and joy and peace, being in love, being continually and created and move in this whole flow of an affinity going, and it has this flow that God creates for us to enjoy and to be ministered to with. You know, I am a believer, and so I share that with people when they're looking at my art. They're always like, "Oh, your artwork makes me happy." I'm like, "I'm good because I paint from the source of the joy of the Lord," you know, and you know, my relationship with Jesus is like, you know, up front and center everything I do. So you know, having that connection and awareness, you know, and discernment that he gives me helps me be able to create um, and help people that come my way. You know, just as you know, Marilyn, you help people with, you know, the nutrition part of it. You know, I think there's this like full circle, like nutrition, spirituality, um, and action. You know, like what we choose to do with all of that, and it's huge for our health. It helps people choose better choices. You know, so and better choices for them, and better choice when you make a better choice for yourself. In return, it's better for the environment that you're in. You know, so I always tell people. I used to tell children, you know, you can choose any choice that you want to choose, but know there's always a consequence after the choice, whether it's a good choice or a not good choice. And so that's for all of us in life. And you know, we could choose in our health to make a good choice or a not good choice. You know, and we'll pay the, you know, we'll pay a consequence to that. Whether, you know, I'm lactose intolerant and I choose to eat ice cream, there's going to be a consequence. You know, if we ignore our spiritual needs, uh, you know, with our faith, if we don't our intentional prayer and 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 reading His Word to motivate us, to help us stay, you know, in line with Him. You know, there's a consequence to that when we start to lean on our own understanding. You know, when we aren't doing anything, you know, God says, you know, idle hands are the devil's work. You know, use your gifts and do something. So, you know, making art with the gift that He's given me is definitely making use of the gift that God's given me. It, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like happy every day, but I have joy every day. I have joy every day, and so you know, you have your bad days and good days, but I have a really great outlet. Prayer, and I have something creative to do, or I'll go take a walk. I'll go to my beautiful park over across here, walk up the hill, and take off my shoes, and just stand in the grass, and or go sit under the big monkey tree and just, you know, enjoy His creation. You know, these are like free things you can do for your health. You know, you don't need to go pay somebody to tell you how to be happy. And these are free things that we can do to take care of our mental and physical health. It goes all when you can't be I've met completely fit people whose hearts are just unhealthy and they have major health issues. That doesn't make sense, but it's because of there's something off. They might be taking care of the health, but they may not be taking care of their mental and spiritual health, you know. So it shouldn't have like this flow of going up and down, you know, and sometimes we break that alignment. So yeah, I don't know how else to share. Like, I love working with children. You know, sharing art because they are so open to create without any like inhibitions. You know, I love working with all ages, but you know, when I teach, you know, adults, they're worried about doing everything right, and kids are just like, okay, let's do this, you know, and they're not worried about it being perfect or anything. It's all about the experience for them, and that's what we should be. That's what, you know. And I have to always tell myself that as an artist, I constantly worry about it being perfect, and it's all about the experience of putting the action, getting, you know, being daring and splashing a color I don't use very often, or you know, using a medium I don't use that very often, or it's okay to make a crooked line. It's, you know, just being daring and just letting it, you know, flow out of you. So yesterday, I had a friend and she was stressed out, and so I gave her a piece of. I was doing a demo, and so I gave her a piece of the watercolor paper and some paint. I was like, "Go ahead, paint." Oh, a minute left. Go ahead and paint. And so I at the end of my time doing my demo, I looked at her art. She was beautiful art, but she was like, I feel like I just did this ring of fire. And she had this bright yellow and then orange and then red and then a deep red, you know, and it's just like she was just coloring out the emotion she was feeling. And after that, she felt like she was so much lighter afterwards. And so, you know, doing something creatively helps. Like, you mentally actually work out your issues, whatever you're struggling with, in this very safe environment of art. That's all I have to share.
Thank you, Jody. Yes, I love that you said that you paint after the storm, and that your paintings are cheerful and bright and colorful. And I actually took one of your paint parties, and it was so much fun creating the ocean with the wreath. And it was, I guess it was Christmas time, so it was a wreath of shells, different types of shells, and just having the painting and knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect, and there was all these different ways that everyone painted, and it was all correct, and it was fun. Yeah. So I love that. And then I love that you said you love rainbows. I absolutely love rainbows. God's promise. It is heartwarming always to see rainbows, even if I'm watering the plants and you see the rainbow through the water, through the sunlight.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's that joy and that awe that you can find everywhere when you just look. And I love that. I love that you talked about that, Jody, as well. So,
and Jody, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at Paint and Escape with Me on Instagram and on Facebook. Also, my website is paintscapewithme.com. It's a name because it's exactly that. When you take my classes, you're going to escape to a happy place with me. And so, yeah, that's where you can find me. I also have like my commissions art there. You can find by stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I wanted to thank Mutual Aid Network for helping to host this podcast. Mutual Aid Network is a platform, a nonprofit that brings people together from all over the world, which is very cool. And we all bring our strengths together, whether it be if somebody has a strength of, for example, I love hosting Zoom karaoke. So I will host Zoom karaoke with people all over the world, and they will come. And that's the way that I can give back with my time. And then other people, maybe their strength is building websites. So they'll give back by giving websites. And then we all just are being able to collaborate. So I appreciate Mutual Aid Network. They have partnered with Innovative Nutrition. And I want to share an update since incorporating our innovative Ignite coffee, which is a thermogenesis coffee, and our Optimate, which is a probiotic, prebiotic, digestive enzyme. I also have a little bit of sensitivity to dairy and gluten. So